First, news this morning that our energy bills look like they will rise to the highest level in 3 years from October. The regulator Ofgem's increased the household price cap by 4%. Now, at the same time, the think tank Civitas says UK industrial energy bills are nearly 5 times what they are in China. There's a lot to consider with this, Edwina. The Conservatives say net zero's to blame, but Labour's Energy Secretary Miatta Fahnbulleh said the determination to renewables will eventually mean that there is less impact of gas on bills, and therefore the pursuit is valid. The pursuit is the right thing to be doing towards renewables. What's your kind of reaction to, I suppose, where we stand this morning with rising bills and political ideology at play?
Well, I'm speaking from a house that's got solar panels on the roof and an electric car plugged in with the right kind of tariff that means that overnight it costs me about 70 pence to charge it up. It makes a big difference, believe me. She almost said the right thing, the Energy Secretary, but she didn't learn the right lesson, because France has done extremely well because they rely very heavily on nuclear. It's a decision that they took after the 1973 price hike, and they decided they never wanted to be so dependent on outside influences. And as a result, they have nice clean energy, and it's not expensive. And they have wonderful technology which employs lots of people in France, which they can then sell to other countries. So have we. Down the road here in Derby, we have Rolls-Royce, and Rolls-Royce are making small modular reactors, and they are selling them to the Swedes, and they are selling them to the Czechs, and they've just about managed to get a contract to sell them to us. We cannot have clean energy without nuclear power, and that's been extremely obvious for a very, very long time. And if only the new Energy Secretary actually used her considerable brain to make that kind of deduction, we might make progress.
Harry, it's interesting to hear Edwina there, because underlying that is that what is being told to us, what consumers are being told, and I suppose then us looking at our bills over these next few months and saying, well, why is net zero not paying off? Why doesn't this all quite make sense and add up yet?
Well, net zero isn't paying off yet, because it doesn't matter how much net zero or renewable energy we have, and we still are a long way from being 100% reliant. I'm looking at just the last week, 22%, apologies, of all our energy came from fossil fuels, despite the fact it was unbelievably sunny and even quite windy actually at times. So it doesn't really matter if we get down to 100% of renewables. If there remains a tiny bit of our energy system or our electricity system that relies on gas, little tiny bit of top up when it's not windy or not sunny, that tiny bit sets the price of all our electricity. So that's the problem. It's the way our energy market is structured. It's absurd that you can have 98% of your entire grid fueled by nuclear or hydro or wind or biomass. If you have to top it up with a tiny amount of gas, it's that gas price that sets the price for the whole system, and that's why our bills are so much more expensive than France or Germany, or especially America or China.
Well, there's another point here, if I may.
Please do.
Which is, if we try and control prices, then something else goes out the window. That is true if you're trying to control prices for a water industry, and what happens is you end up with sewage. If you try and control prices of energy, what happens is you lack capacity. That's exactly what Harry is referring to. There ought to be a much better mindset, and we've only recently started trying to control prices in the fuel industry. It was something that the Conservatives brought in. Shame on them, really. It's not the sort of thing that Tories should do. If prices are not controlled, but you are then setting capacity requirements, you're much more likely to be able to satisfy that peak demand. You're not likely to have the worries and the fears that are going on. You're also more likely, I think, to be able to use your land better. One of the things we're short of in this country is land, spare land. So every time somebody wants to build a solar farm, they're taking farmland that will actually be useful for food. So they're creating further problems further down the line. The wind turbines, there's a big row going on around the Isle of Man right now. There's a whole election being fought on it. Do they want wind turbines there? Even though some kind of, it'd be much better with a small nuclear reactor sitting on the island. That would actually do the trick. And they would have, they could have their beautiful point of view. My point is that the government is right to try and get to net zero, but they're doing it the wrong way. And the wrong way is actually making things worse.
Harry, when it comes to what you were talking about there and the linking of, the gas price setting the overall price, can you help us understand what disruption would be caused if that was changed? If the government said, well, hang on, we're not doing it like that anymore, what disruption would there be to the market and I guess potentially to us as consumers as well?
Calum, this is a really good question, and I've never fully got to the bottom of this, and no one seems to be able to give a straight answer. I mean, it does involve ripping up the entire market structure, and as I understand it, if you threaten to do this and you make it more logical, as in if we get 70% of our energy from quite cheap wind and quite cheap solar, then at least 70% of our bills should come down in price. Then all the international investors start going, oh, you can't do that, because we were guaranteed prices when we invested heavily in these offshore wind farms. We're not going to make our money back for 20 years. We were guaranteed prices on this mechanism. So if you start changing how the market operates, we're going to withdraw all our funding. That was the answer I was given. I'm not sure I fully understand. Well, something radical has to be done because, this transition to net zero is taking a lot longer than we were initially told. It's likely to take quite a few more decades. We're definitely going to need a bit more gas to keep us going, whether it comes from the North Sea or whether it gets pumped in from overseas. I don't care. What I do care is that our bills keep on going up and up and up, and we've got to have something radically different over the next few decades.
Yeah, something radically different indeed. Edwina, would you encourage that sort of intervention? Because the other part of this is whether government should intervene to help people with their energy bills, and if they do that, should that be a universal intervention or not?
It's absolutely bonkers. I mean, you can see why things are going wrong. Here we have governments trying to keep down by law the prices that all of us pay in our homes and our businesses, and at the same time they are subsidising by law the people who are putting in the new systems to keep those prices high. Does that sound illogical to you? Because it sure sounds illogical to me. A radically thinking government with a huge majority and a couple of years ahead of it could change the entire system. Basically, they could say to the wind turbine companies, many of which are Swedish or Norwegian, or come from very reasonable countries, look, either you conform and we renegotiate these contracts down to something reasonable, or we will take over your business. If you really want to just walk away, that's fine. We'll find someone else to take it over. Has this government got that foresight, insight and courage? Don't hold your breath.